Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. And last night I watched the Mexican Grand Prix, although I didn't watch it live because I was out picking pumpkins at night. And so by the time I got back, got the kids to bed, and actually had time to sit down and watch the Formula 1, it finished about 3 a.m. So I'm kind of tired and I didn't really want to do it straight away last night. So I went to bed instead. But now I'm going to talk about the Mexican Grand Prix because I missed it to get this bad boy. And it is a monster of a pumpkin. Only cost me a couple of quid as well. Gonna enjoy gutting this later with the kids. It's a nice firm pumpkin, that is. And to be honest, that was a hell of a lot more fun than watching the Mexican Grand Prix. Ricciardo, absolutely incredible job to qualify fourth. And almost entirely unexpected given AlphaTauri's performances this year. He did an incredible job, and even Tsunoda showed a lot more speed than he has done. So it looks like AlphaTauri have finally got their car right with 3 races to go. Bit late in the year, but this was a fantastic performance from Daniel Ricciardo, and I take it all back. He absolutely deserves to be in Formula 1 still. The only other shock from qualifying was Lando Norris was at the back. So we get to the start of the Mexican Grand Prix. Verstappen does a demon getaway, gets into the lead, but behind him, Leclerc and Perez make contact. The homeboy, heartbreakingly, gets taken out on the first lap. And that must have been devastating for the Mexican fans in attendance, who I'm sure a lot of them were there just to see Sergio Perez race. It must have been devastating for Sergio Perez. In fact, we saw him later and he looked absolutely devastated. And it was a very, very... I wouldn't say it ruined the race, but it was a down moment. Beyond that, not a lot really happened throughout the race. There was a lot of overtaking, but it was mostly DRS overtakes on the long straight. I don't think this track needs 3 DRS zones. That main one on the long straight, that's plenty. In fact, it's too much. And that's all we really got. There was some good overtakes going into that first corner. I do like the first corner. I do like the Mexican track, but I think DRS ruins it. But I think on the main straight, fair enough. We at least did get to see some tight overtakes on that first chicane. Tsunoda obviously got it wrong, and a couple of times. But otherwise, not a whole lot really happened. The field got very strung out very quickly. Max Verstappen, every time he was in the lead, left to his own devices, he pulled a massive gap. And that was true here again. And after the red flag, he did that again. Like, I think he had about 19 seconds the first time and about 16 the second time. So you can say about the red flag, he'd have probably had a 35-second lead, if not more. So there wasn't really a fight for the lead, and the Ferraris, they lacked the long-term pace, but they at least managed to finish 3rd and 4th. Leclerc probably lucky to finish. I'm surprised he didn't get more damage in that first corner accident, but he did well to hang on. Although I do question the worth of the front wing end plates if he's just as quick without them as he is with them. I know there was going to be an investigation into if his car should have been allowed to continue, but given that it was up to the stewards to flag him in if they thought it was dangerous, I don't think it was down to Ferrari. They could, obviously, but normally it was the meatball flag. So I honestly can't see him getting a penalty for that. Everything else happened in this race. Lewis Hamilton took 11 laps to get past Ricciardo, which isn't so much a bang on Hamilton, just another round of applause for Ricciardo for being fantastic this weekend. Big incident of this one obviously was Kevin Magnussen's crash. It looked like a car failure, just turned him around. Big hit into the wall, the car was on fire. Happily he was okay. Beyond that, we had the red flag, obviously. That gave everyone tyres. It was interesting to see half the field go with hards, the other half go with mediums. Both tyres seemed to work to about the same degree. And once Hamilton was past the Ferraris, they didn't really have the race pace to catch him, but Hamilton didn't have the pace to catch Verstappen. Russell was sort of stuck where he was. It was kind of a stalemate of a race. And I would say the same thing about the Super Formula race on Sunday as well. But that was a lot more tense. Super Formula feels more like a chess game. This just feels like Scalextrics. And that's the sort of difference. And it's weird. I can't really put into words. I haven't really figured that out yet. But if you have any thoughts on that, a comparison between the two, then let me know in the comments. But for me, this just, it doesn't have the tension of other race series, and it does get a little dull. But this was one of the better races this year, and this was not a great race. And that's where I'll leave that, but you can make up your own minds. The end of this race, the only real excitement was Lando Norris coming through the field. Amazing job, considering he was so far back, even at the restart. And he made the medium tyres work for him. Brilliant overtakes again and again, getting into 5th place. It was a fantastic drive. 10 out of 10, Lando Norris definitely the driver of the day. And that was pretty much how it finished. Verstappen won again, his 16th win of the year, another record broken. And that's 16 out of 19. It has been... Honestly, he is so far ahead of everyone else, just in terms of everything. I honestly can't... There's a world where it was entirely feasible he could have taken all 19 wins this year. Hamilton in second, it was another good drive for him. He made the overtakes when he needed to. He took a little long to get past Ricciardo, but as I said, that was down to Ricciardo's brilliant defending. Leclerc and Sainz, I think Ferrari will be fairly happy with that. I think they know that one lap pace is different from the race pace. They did a fantastic job to lock out the front row in qualifying, but that was always going to be tough to bring into the race. And honestly, a reliable finish, even with Leclerc's little bit of damage. It was a good enough job for them. Ferrari, I think Ferrari and Mercedes scored the exact same points this weekend, so I don't think it's going to be tough for Ferrari to close in on Mercedes, because you can't really rely on a Mercedes not finishing. At the moment, they're taking advantage of the fact that Russell is not having a good year. And Carlos Sainz has been very consistent throughout, and Leclerc's not too far behind him. But 3 races left, it's going to be tough to catch Mercedes. Norris in 5th, brilliant job, as I said. Russell, disappointing to see him down in 6th. He doesn't seem to be able to get as much out of his car as he did last year. Ricciardo, fantastic job in 7th. Piastri did fine in 8th. Albon, another brilliant drive, up to 9th. Ocon and Gasly, 10th and 11th. I think Alpine will be disappointed with that. They've shown a lot more in recent races. Just did not happen for them this weekend. Sargent in 12th, decent performance. Hülkenberg, he looked good at times, but he dropped back. Tsunoda made a mess of his race. The Alfa Romeos, barely saw him. And unfortunately, they just do not have the pace. I think New Zhou showed a lot of fire in qualifying. Just did not happen for him in the race. And then the retiree, Stroll obviously made contact. Alonso retired. Aston Martin have completely slid off a cliff. It's very sad to see given their early season form. I was hoping for a lot more from them this year. But I think with development race, maybe they've moved on to the 2024 car completely. Maybe it'll pay off next year, maybe it won't. But I think for 2023, they're pretty much done. And then Magnussen, obviously, his big crash, and Perez. Not a whole lot has changed in the championship. Verstappen has twice as many points as second place Perez. He actually has 3 times as many points as George Russell in 8th. That's astonishing. And that gap is only going to get bigger, because can you see him losing any of the last 3 races? They might as well just let him win. He can have his 19 wins out of 22 or something ridiculous. And we can all move on from 2023. Not a lot left to go. There's only 3 races left. We have Brazil this weekend. Ugh. Another Grand Prix. Then a couple of weeks we have Las Vegas. And then, I don't know if it's a week or a couple of weeks, we have Abu Dhabi. The fight for second is still on. Lewis Hamilton obviously closed in on Perez this weekend. And that is probably the biggest excitement we have going on. I think Sainz could still finish second, but he needs a lot to happen in his favour. Everything else, I don't think there's anything really worth paying attention to. Ferrari versus Mercedes for second in the Constructors is still on. McLaren, I think, have left Aston Martin for dead, but I don't think they're going to catch Mercedes or Ferrari. Norris, can he get into the top 5 in the championship? I think that's a possible on his recent form. Other than that, can AlphaTauri score enough points to keep off the bottom? I think at this point Alfa Romeo and Haas definitely the worst cars on the grid. Williams have been scoring decent points throughout the season, so for them, I think this is one of the best years for Williams for years. So I think that's pretty much the championship done. There isn't really all that much to look at. But obviously I'll be back to talk about Brazil next weekend, or this weekend. I will of course talk about the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which might be the one intriguing thing to go on. As much as I don't want a third American Grand Prix, anytime a new Grand Prix is on the calendar, it's always just interesting to see what the track's like. And then Abu Dhabi, it will be dull. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and thank you to everyone who has. You can join the channel now if you so wish. I put a couple of badges in there if you really want them. Leave your thoughts down below. What did you think of this race? Were you excited? Who was your driver of the race? Why wasn't it Norris? Norris obviously is the driver of the race. Thank you for watching. Go grab your pumpkins. Have a good one.